off by starting with a little bit of our core ideology and the purpose of what IPS is here for, and um, and that's to provide safe and secure environments so that you can concentrate on uh, what's important to you. And I start that with, I really struggle with this whole concept of managed services when it was first introduced to us. And I'm like, why would anybody pay somebody else to do what they can do themselves? And so I wrestled with that. And then I wish I could even take credit for this, but I'm going to tell you a story that somebody kind of presented to me to help me kind of see the light. And then it kind of clicked for me why I think it makes sense. I was about, I don't know, pushing somewhere in my mid 30s. I came, my wife and I were starting a young family. We had two kids. She was working, she's an RN, she's working a second or late shift at the hospital. And I get home around, 6 o'clock, and I have a babysitter there, and I still have to cut the grass. So I asked the babysitter to stay late so I can cut the grass. Um, and I love cutting grass. I actually put myself through college. It kind of takes me in a different world. I don't have to think much. I just do it. But then as I'm cutting the grass that day, I'm thinking, first of all, it's summer, so I'm sweating from every part of my body that you can imagine. I'm pushing 40, so I'm not in the best shape of my life, and I'm starting to get a little miserable. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this? I'm paying that babysitter 10 something bucks an hour. Uh, I have to pay for the gas. I have to store this lawnmower. And if anybody here has a family or has had a family, that garage space is pretty is at a premium when you have young kids because they bring new bikes in or whatever, and you have all this stuff in there. So that was adding up. You had my time, you had occasional tune-ups for the lawnmower, weed eater. I can go on and on. Well, when I look at it from a managed service perspective, it's the exact same thing. um, IPS can do all that for you, or as much or as little as you want. I mean, if you think about it, from a grass cutting standpoint, maybe you just want us to cut the grass and you'll clean up afterwards, or you'll do the weed eating, or maybe you want to cut the grass and you want someone else to do the weed eating and the cleanup. Any piece of that, if you can think of it, we can customize a solution that will work for you. The other part of the grass cutting that, even though I did it professionally, I got haphazard about it. I wasn't fully invested like I was when I did it for a living. And so when I started paying somebody else to cut my grass, the lines were perfect. I had that nice looking lawn every time. There was no grass, laying in the street or on my driveway. It was done well. Um, so if you put that kind of in the same perspective that managed services are, if you started thinking about, and I'm not going to go into all this in detail because I don't want to take everybody else's thunder that's going to talk today, but you add up the servers and software license, and I can go on. I got a list here a mile long. Um, that really has some value to thinking about it from that perspective. Then there's one other piece. The manufacturers are thinking about this a lot more than they had in the past. They are really concentrating on building systems that are hosted via web services and cater to a managed service platform. So kind of like IP cameras coming into the market, 20 years ago, it was like, I don't know if that's really going to be a thing. And it kind of got pushed off, especially here in the Midwest, until it didn't. And then eventually I was telling my customers who wanted me to buy them analog cameras that eventually I could do that for you, but I'm doing you a disservice because when you replace that, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get an IP equipment. So you might want to start thinking about that now as you build your system. Anyway, it all kind of mirrors the same thought process and why IPS is thinking of it. So that's my thoughts, Taylor.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Tim McHugh, do you want to kind of go over in a little more detail what we mean by managed security services?
Yeah, Taylor, I'm happy to. Andy touched on a lot of this already. A couple of definitions, I think, to kind of put a frame around the conversation here. When we talk about a managed security solution for our customers, it's really something that we can do for you that you would typically do for yourself, right? And a very kind of hot topic or a subset of that is what we refer to as a hosted service solution. And probably a lot of people on this phone call are familiar with the terms cloud services or software as a service. What we're really doing is applying that into the security industry here. So IPS hosts the software, or we partner with a technology firm that hosts the software in many cases. The software and the data, we do that in the cloud, and it's really for your benefit. And that takes the IT personnel, it takes the organization out of performing a lot of day-to-day tasks, whether that's maintaining a server, powering a server, cooling a server, investing in a server, many other sort of things related to having all the equipment stored on-prem. So we talk about managed services, right? Kind of high-level definition of we're doing tasks that you would normally do. And we're talking about hosted services, we're really talking about a cloud-based or SaaS type solution. Additionally, Andy touched on, I think, how the industry's changed a lot here. The model has really changed a lot in recent years. And if you think about the traditional model, there's a lot of companies out there in the security space that make equipment, right? They make the software that drives that equipment. Then they go and talk to integrators like IPS. They sell through us. So it's kind of a very linear process, right? They come out with updated equipment. They come to us. We then have conversations with end users. We work with a lot of very talented organizations and great partners that allows us to craft the right solution for our customers out there, big or small, right? A small business or an enterprise sort of situation. We've got great technology partners. But in the last few years, the model's really changed dramatically, where as they go to more cloud-based or hosted solutions, it's now creating more of a triangle than a straight line. And we still have these great relationships with the manufacturers, but what it's allowing them to do is have relationships directly with the end users. And of course, we still get to continue our ongoing service relationship with the end user. And when you put all this together, we think where the industry's gone with cloud-based solutions is something that we're calling smarter, faster, and better. And a number of high points off of this, right? Because we're talking in many cases hosted solutions. That means that the original equipment manufacturer is making updates continually. To the end user, your system's optimized, right? It's never out of date. You log in, you get an update today. You log in tomorrow, you get an update tomorrow, and so on and so forth. That's an immediate update, whether it be functionality or perhaps cybersecurity, which can often be a hot topic inside of our industry. A commonality among many of these systems is the ease of use from a mobile perspective, right? If it's a cloud-hosted system, oftentimes you're logging into a URL, you have full access and visibility to the system. You also have mobile apps, which allow you to do it from your phone. So you've got great mobility. Systems are scalable, right? It's easy to add another device, another camera, another reader, whatever the case may be. They're oftentimes very open. They integrate well with other applications. So for an enterprise type account that maybe wants to integrate their video and their access or an Active Directory for their employees, doing so in the cloud makes things a lot easier in many cases here. Lastly, we feel like it helps us support our customers in a faster manner, right? Because we can basically look into the cloud, see what you're seeing, and maybe fix something for you on the fly, as opposed to having to schedule a technician a day, 2, 3 out to get to your site. So we really think it's smarter, faster, and better in so many ways, shapes, and form here. So that's kind of a quick overview of what we're talking about with managed services, Taylor.
Awesome. Okay, so I've put together some questions just to kind of guide our conversation. But at any time, folks, if you have a question or you need us to go into more detail on something, please do not be shy. Hop on that microphone, ask away, drop it in the chat. If you're having trouble with the Teams interface, feel free to email me. You should all have my email address. So again, I've got some questions just to kind of keep us going here. But at any time, if you have something that you want to know, don't be shy. So to kind of get things started, Steve, what if a customer is part of a large, like enterprise level company, multiple locations across multiple states? Is managed security services still a good fit?
Oh, absolutely. And I truly believe it's the best fit. Like Tim said, smarter, faster, better. With multi-sites, multi-locations, it could be, local. You could have 5 locations. You could have 1 location. You could be worldwide, really. The nice thing about the managed service and the cloud-based system is what I like to say, it's like anytime, anywhere. How many of us had that call where I can't get in a particular door, or I can't see John comes to the door, he forgets his card. With the cloud-based type system, we've got a single pane of glass that can see multiple locations. So, if there's an incident, I can see what's going on. If somebody needs to get into a door, as long as I've got my smart device with me, I can look at all my systems. I can do anything from that smart device, iPhone, whatever you may have. I can unlock a door. I could be laying on the beach on vacation and get interrupted like we always do. So yeah, absolutely. It's a perfect solution for that. The nice thing is it's scalable. So, you're talking, main location, let's say Cincinnati, Ohio. I've got 3 other locations, Columbus, Indiana. We're essentially putting a node at each facility, and all those talk back to one single pane. So manageability is phenomenal, with the cloud-based option. And really, like I said, it's anytime, anywhere. So to me, it's the perfect solution. I did want to ask, does anybody have any specific questions on, like how the systems actually function? I will take the
Anybody?
side.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat regarding that.
That's perfect. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, really, again, it's scalable. You're talking, Tim mentioned a lot of the things that the capabilities, no software updates, it's all taken care of. And real quick, I actually, and we may get to this later, but I'll speak to one client that I had. We're looking at what I call the old school system, where they've got a large access control system and all the database is held on a single computer. We went to update that system and realized that PC had been in there for 7 years and it couldn't handle the new updates. So, this client was faced with not only updating, but having to put in a brand new server. So, there was costs there that weren't accounted for. With this type of system, you will not see that, which is a big benefit.
For sure.
Yeah.
Tim Stegner, can you kind of maybe share a little bit about how managed security services takes cybersecurity into consideration? Like everything we've talked about so far sounds great, but is it secure?
Sure, and actually, that's typically left up to the manufacturer. That's their livelihood, to keep their systems cybersecurity and keep everything fresh. So with a typical system where you've got a server in-house, you're going to get that software loaded and you're going to wait for maybe a tech to come out and load the most current security patches or any updates or anything like that. With a hosted system, which falls into both hosted and managed security, is the manufacturer is going to go ahead as soon as those patches are available. They're going to load those to their system, which is your system. So you're going to be protected in that case. And you know, I'm not an IT person by any means or anything, but I deal with a lot of IT people, and I realize how busy they are. Everything, if there's any IT folks in this call, everything falls into your lap, and we understand that, and you're constantly trying to play catch up. And this is one thing where you can leave this piece to the professionals that have a stake in the game. So it's really quite simple. What that is, they take care of the security for it. Download the latest upgrades, latest security patches, and you're good to go.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions related to cybersecurity, how the systems are continually optimized, anything like that? No? Okay. So far, it seems like we've done a lot of conversation surrounding the access control side of things, but video is also another component of managed security services. Tim McHugh, sorry, we have a lot of Tims here. Tim McHugh, can you kind of speak to the video side, and why would I want my video in the cloud? What does that do for me?
Yeah, Taylor, that's a great question. So video in the cloud offers a whole bunch of new attributes for you. One of the most important ones is flexibility. So if I'm saving my video hosted in the cloud and I've got 10 cameras, I could pick how much storage I want for each and every camera. Maybe there's one camera on a front door that all I need is 7 days, but maybe there's some private area that for whatever reason, my insurance company, safety standards, I want to keep 365 days video, I can do that. So I can have a great deal of flexibility on a by camera basis here. Scalability. So I joke around that cameras are kind of like chips and Oreos, right? I start having one, and then gosh, as soon as I think I'm done, I want one more. So it's really easy to scale these sort of systems. Just adding additional cameras, you don't have to worry about robbing from the existing hard drive space that's out there, right? You thought you had 30 days, you add a couple more cameras, now you're down to 22 or something like that. We're not robbing from Peter to pay Paul there. Mobility is, again, another important feature. The way these systems are set up, it's very easy to access them through a single pane of glass, wherever you are at any time, anywhere, anytime. If you've got one facility with a whole bunch of cameras, it's easy to see. But if you're the type of business that has multiple sites with multiple cameras, you can get into that single pane of glass. You can see your front door at 10 different buildings if that was important to you. I think this kind of continues to open up some of the really advanced features. So they're hosting in the cloud. These companies, our technology partners, are putting a tremendous amount of investment into AI in the cloud. And they're making it simpler, faster, and better to use all the time. When we think about video traditionally, it's having a real good image of something that happens. And oftentimes, we're looking at it in the rear view mirror, right? I want to see what happened at this door at 2 o'clock yesterday. There was an incident in our parking lot at 10 o'clock last night. I'm going backwards to find these things. Sometimes that's an easy search, sometimes it's not. These technology partners are now introducing what I refer as the Google Smart Search. So I'm just typing in my search bar, man, gray hoodie, white pickup truck. And so there's enough intelligence to go out across all your camera streams and start finding matches associated with that. So I'm not necessarily having to go camera by camera, time by time. In that same vein, there's some tremendous new technology coming out related to license plate recognition. So I already mentioned you could do a search for a white Ford pickup truck. If you have license plates, you can start doing license plate searches off of these as well too. Sometimes you don't even need to invest into the high-end LPR cameras to be able to facilitate that. So when you start talking about ease of use, mobility, cybersecurity, and then I think these powerful analytics, it's really game-changing stuff where you can start running your business with the combination of all these things.
That's a lot of good information. And just to clarify, the AI component of everything, the advanced searching capabilities, is that an extra or is that included?
No, that's included. That comes with the service. The hosted fees that you pay for these things enable you to have all that. So again, as they make advancements to it, you're getting additional functionality.
Very cool. Does anyone have any questions about the video side of things and kind of the different capabilities and search functions when it comes to artificial intelligence with the cameras?
I do have a question.
Okay.
That all sounds great. I am I'm a property manager at an apartment community, and we have multiple exits, secured entry with key fobs, an attached parking garage, 6 stories. So we do have cameras, and we have a current system that's not functioning very well for us, which is why I joined the call. But do you provide those cameras? Are they owned and operated by IPS, or is it something that we purchase and manage? And do you do things like key fob entry?
Yeah,
Tim,
it's-
do you-
Yeah, certainly. So Jessica, thanks for joining the call. Great questions. Let's just kind of tackle a handful of them. If you've got existing cameras, we could come out and take a look at what you got. A lot of these systems are very camera agnostic. So if you've got a good quality camera, we may still be able to bring it in. From a financial model, we got a couple different paths to go, right? So we've got some customers that prefer to invest, purchase, install, and own all the equipment, right? So cameras and readers and things like that. And then we'll provide the hosting services for you. So we call that a hosted solution. And we have other customers that we have different financial models that we can explore with them. So we refer to that oftentimes as access control as a service, video as a service, or just security as a service. And we take basically the hosted solution and we pair it with a lower down payment. And then we also pair with a third component, so a monthly subscription, but we're also providing an ongoing complete coverage and extended warranty for that. So when we talk about an as a service solution, it's really 3 things in one. It's a hosted solution, right? It's a lower down payment, and then there's an extended warranty. And we really think that's kind of the managed service bundle, if you would, right? So kind of going back to Andy kicking us off and talking about he used to mow his lawn and now he doesn't want to mow his lawn. We kind of think that's the same equivalent there.
Gotcha. Jessica, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Is this would this be a contract, or is it open should circumstances change for us in the future?
Well, we traditionally put these on an agreement. So we have an agreement upon what, you want us to provide and what we provide it at and the pricing and all that sort of stuff. But we can always explore kind of all those details for you. If we sit down and take a look at what you got and what you need and trying to figure out the best solution for you there.
Okay, thank you.
And Jessica,
And
I'll
then-
be sure to follow up with you to get you some more, everyone, but we'll definitely get you hooked up with some more detailed information and with your account rep as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
So, this is Rick with
Mhm.
Sitco Water. So we're looking at access control specifically. We're a multi location company that is medium sized. So if we were to start at one location, it's very easy to add other locations to that program or contract or whatever. It would be like one at a time kind of thing. Is that how that works? And then we would pay basically a subscription if we just wanted to do the managed services package or whatnot. Is that how that would be?
Yeah, Rick, this is Steve. Absolutely. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Start with one location, and as you progress, we progress, and you're just adding readers to the system or cameras to the system as you go. So that's absolutely the perfect application for that.
Steve, I'm gonna jump in real quick if you don't mind.
Yep.
We've had customers start with as small as one door and then at the same location, add one door. We've got other customers that may have one door at multiple locations. So any way you want to kind of dream it up or the way your business takes you, it can be custom built for sure. And actually one of the benefits of this platform is you can do very little to start and then grow it as large as an enterprise system, international, if so be it.
Okay.
And Andy, that single pane of glass concept, for someone like Rick, who may have to go to a bunch of different locations, it's real easy for him to be able to give himself access, and anybody else needs to go to all those sites. I met with a customer this summer, and he had a lanyard around his neck. And I asked him, "What's all that?" He goes, "Well, we have 5 sites." And he literally had 5 different cards and fobs around his neck because each site had a different system and they all operated independently. And he had present different credentials inside of those. And you kind of like herding cats then, right? Particularly if you got to administrate it, right? So Rick, I don't know if that's your role, but if you got to administrate it and I got to, well, this is how I add an employee into this group for this site versus I gotta now take an employee out of this group for this site. I'm gonna change. Boy, you really you're taxing yourself a lot. Smarter, faster, better, simpler. One central place to do it all.
Gotcha.
And I don't know that we've explicitly talked about this, but I think it's been implied in our conversation so far. You can use your phone as your badge, correct? Like the options for accessing and gaining entry into the facility, there are several different options as far as I understand. So there's a lot of flexibility there, depending on what people are comfortable with.
Yep, you are correct.
Okay. Are there any other questions floating around out there? We've got some great conversation going so far. So we kind of touched on this, but Steve, could you kind of just clarify? So we have our managed security services umbrella, and then we have services that fall underneath that. One of being on the access control side, we've got access control as a service, and then we've got hosted access control. Can you kind of go over the difference between the two and the benefits?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tim McHugh actually described that perfectly a little earlier. So, we present 2 options. Essentially what it boils down to is, the client, when you're speaking with Jessica, if the client wants to purchase the equipment, they can purchase the equipment. They can, they own it. And we basically customize a system where, maybe they want to do this aspect of it, but they want IPS to do another aspect. So, that's an option that's, access as a service. And then the other option where it's hosted, like Tim said, it's 3 layers where you're hosted, it's a lower down payment, and it's a full service. So it's more or less like a lease program as opposed to an outright purchase. Systems can be designed the same way, get the same services. It's just a different financial, feature of, do you want to own the equipment? Do you want to lease the equipment?
Gotcha. Are there any questions on those differences and kind of the financial models?
Yeah, and Taylor, I've had customers, that, again, from 1 door to 50 doors, financially, it just depends on how they budget. Is it a capital expense? Do they want to spend a lot of money up front, own the system, or would it benefit them to just basically have a low down payment and more of a monthly cost? So gives them some flexibility.
Okay. So we're saying monthly cost a lot. And I think if you're like me, you got a subscription to almost everything out there. Tim McHugh, What makes this subscription different?
Yeah, so I think the subscription is becoming the S word, right? You know, I know in my house, when my kids come to me and say, "Hey, Dad, can we get a subscription to fill in the blank streaming service?" You know, I know we already have a number already here. We got 5 people in the house, 5 different interests. The ones that we use, we don't ever chirp about, right? We love Netflix, we love Paramount Plus, right? It's the ones that we don't use that I think drive me, the financial, you know, buyer in the situation, a little crazy. I look at security as something you're using every single day. So financially, that model, it shouldn't be something that you go, gosh, we're not using, right? We use this. The subscriptions facilitate everything. And I also think about in this model, what am I getting for the subscription here? Well, I'm getting a hosted solution. And what I'm not getting, if you want to think about that, I'm not getting a server, right? And Steve talked about it. We've got some customers that they bought a server 5 years ago. They thought they future-proofed the server. And lo and behold, now they do not have enough horsepower to run the systems. And so it's now a fairly significant event, right? It's kind of a slower, more drawn-out process to get them updates here. So when we start talking about the subscription model, we make that server go away. We make the maintenance of it, the modernization of it, the powering of it, the taking care of a room of it, all those things go away, and we manage it for you. So hopefully there's an awful lot of value to a hosted solution there for you.
Any questions regarding the kind of subscription model and benefits? No?
So I'll throw in
Oh,
just a little
yeah.
bit.
Jump in.
Just from a guy who works closely with our CFO and how money works, I think it's important to kind of talk about this a little bit. And then I want to kind of touch a little bit on what Jessica was asking, being property manager and having, you know, a facility that size and shape. So we've got a couple different people in the room. One, you can look at this from the old way was I got to go ask for a capital budget and get a big chunk of money to go buy a system. And in some cases, that still might be the way to go. In other situations, financially, it might make more sense to use that over an operating budget that you can spread out and it comes out of a different bucket. So I would encourage you to talk with your money people and ask what might be a better situation. And I think it could be either way, depending upon, you know, what kind of business you are and how your money is derived. A property manager is a great example of, I've seen this done where we've had, you know, a pool, for example, want to be protected. And so the property charges access to the pool. And so let's pretend I'm living there and I if I want to use the pool all the time, it might be $5 a month. So they build that into the cost of the door that they're getting charged. I'm making this number up, don't hold me to it. $10 a month for the door. And if you get $1 from the 50 people that are doing it to pay for that door, it makes a good financial decision. And again, every business is different and it can be catered and built different, as Tim McHugh alluded to earlier. So these are all great questions, and the answer is it depends on what your needs are and what your business needs are. So.
And Taylor, I'll kind of add to what Andy was saying there too. Is you know, it's like Andy was saying, you know, it depends on what's right for you. There's choices all the time. That same pool they may know it needs a new filter coming up in the next year or two. And so, you know, maybe that's the money's not there if they don't have to spend it, make the large capital outlay for security or anything. The other thing that turning that into an operating expense does, it allows you to say budgetize your security. You can, with as it was mentioned before, there's an extended warranty that comes with that. So what you're paying for that month is what you're paying for that month. There's no surprises. No, if your NVR goes down, your access control server goes down, that's covered under the extended warranty. So there, you don't have those surprises at your unplanned expenses or anything. So that's another advantage of the managed program.
Tim, that's an excellent point. I actually have it written down here in my notes. One of the things that our CFO hates more than anything is surprises, unbudgeted service calls, unbudgeted repairs or purchases of any kind. Really gets his the hairs on the back of his neck to stand up. So this does eliminate that, or at least could provide a path to eliminate it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. Are there any other questions about kind of how the models work, budgeting? And again, it's a highly customizable solution, so it's going to be different for every customer and every circumstance. But regardless, there are definitely ways to get it done. Another advantage of managed security services and some of the partners we work with that we haven't touched on is that a lot of them are open platform, open APIs. Are any of our panelists kind of comfortable speaking on that?
Yeah, sure, Taylor, I'll touch base on that. The technology partners will tell you they can integrate systems easier in the cloud than trying to replicate that locally. And a very common one we hear, particularly from like enterprise type of customers, is, we hire somebody. We put them into our employee software. That's usually stored in the cloud somewhere, right? We assign them to a group. And, based upon their category, they should have access to this building or these doors and these times and all these combinations. They only want to do that once. So the open APIs oftentimes allow for integrations at the enterprise level, so you can integrate with your employee software there. It can be very simple. Add an employee, they get their access. Change or delete an employee, those things can flow through very seamlessly as well, too. I think another key one, and gosh, we haven't mentioned it, is oftentimes just the simple integrations between an access control and video, right? Because some of our technology partners on the access side, they have some really slick, seamless, and easy integrations. So as an event happens in the access system, most commonly someone presents a badge, door opens, hopefully, there's a video clip that is associated with that. So inside of the access system, with the click of an icon, you can get a quick view of that event. So a credential was presented. You can see who was it. Was it the card holder? Were there additional people with the card holder? Whatever the case may be, you have an easy integration there. So these cloud-based systems make that much simpler than having to send information back down to a server, getting through a firewall, and navigating all the challenges that can happen when you're trying to secure a facility.
Mm-hmm. Any questions on integrations and the possibilities out there?
Hey, Taylor, real quick, I did want to mention something real quick just for Jessica and possibly Rick. You stated that you have some existing systems. I know Tim touched on the cameras. A lot of times, if you've got an infrastructure there, we can definitely take advantage of that. 9 times out of 10 on the access control side, if they've already got a reader there, a Rex, a door contact, we can take advantage of a lot of those field devices. And many times we can even take advantage of the reader. So essentially, you're just looking at changing, the head end hardware at some of these locations, which is going to be a cost savings. So I know in the property, I deal with a lot of property managers, and that's a big concern that, over the years, they've made some investments, and they've already kind of got an infrastructure there, and to restart everything would be too costly. But there are ways, like I said, many times we can reuse the cabling and or the field devices. So and again, it's a case by case basis, but 90% of the time I'd say we can reuse it.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, this is Mary Beth with Sitco Water. I'm with Rick.
Hi.
You were talking about integrations on the hardware side, but do you also have integrations on the software side from your management control panel? I don't know if you go into, Salesforce for dashboards or any of those types of integrations. Can you talk about that?
There's an awful lot of integrations that are available, and if you're looking to get some like management reporting functions, we can sit down and take a look at what that is. Many of the systems have their own dashboard, so if you're trying to get reports on who keyed into the facility and when, or who accessed this device, those sorts of reports are really readily available. Mary Beth, is that what you're looking for, or are you looking for something else?
I think that is what I'm looking for, but
Yeah.
again, one of our focus points is I don't want to have to log into 7 different cloud systems. I want it all to funnel into my one management dashboard if possible. And, we, for instance, are focusing that to a Salesforce platform. And so that's why I was curious if you all already had connections with that. I'm sure you've got the management reports within the own management system that you have.
Yeah, I would have to go doing some digging to see about integrations into a system like Salesforce, and we'd have to really understand what you're looking for there. I can tell you there's a lot of reporting functionality associated with, say, a Brevo or an Eagle Eye, a couple of the key technology partners that we use, because what you want, somebody's already asked them to do in many cases. Yeah, and it's real common, right? We're trying to figure out who entered facilities, when did they enter them? Sometimes it's did somebody get to the site on time and punched in properly? Buddy punching going on or something like that? Or, did somebody gain access that wasn't supposed to? If you've thought of it, they've probably got a report available to it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mary Beth, I will say this too. Many times they will actually write a software. So even if they don't have it, being that it's cloud-based now, it's a lot less expensive than it used to be. We used to have companies write an API for a certain, local system, and it was very costly, because they're writing a program. Now, some of our vendors that we use, some of our partners, we get with you, see what you want. And like Tim said, it may already be done, something we can check into. But even if it's not done, they are willing to sit down and develop it. And really it's very cost effective, because, they develop it for you, but then ABC company wants the same thing, that you wanted. So they take advantage of that as well. So yeah, by all means, even if they don't do it, it's a possibility to get it done for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Steve, on the topic of reporting, you just triggered something in my head here. So because these things are cloud-based, we get reports on system performance. So we can get a notification out of our technology partner that says there's a door offline, there's a control panel offline, there's a camera down. We can be proactive in reaching out to our customers and letting you know that in fact there's a problem. We're in the old model, right? If it's on a server sitting in your facility, that gets much more challenging for us to be able to do.
Any other thoughts? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Beat me to it.
I have one more question, and you may have said this already. With my current system, to view some of that reporting, it only updates once a day. So I would need to wait until the following day to view some of the access. Is yours available in real time? If I wanted to know if someone who scanned their key fob at a certain time, I could find out, in real time?
Absolutely. 100%. It's real time. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Honestly, it's immediate. So if you happen to be it's when they make that card swipe. And again, it could be, just a good example. Let's say somebody lost the card, for example. Even if somebody comes up and they see, the logo on the card, they swipe the card at your facility, we're even going to know that. And it may say, hey, so-and-so tried to get in the building and he lost his card a week ago. At least somebody pinged that reader. And again, it is immediate.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions out there about anything we've covered?
Taylor, I'll chime in with one dot. We're doing a lot of talking, right? And we keep telling people a lot of stuff. If they want to see things, we can grab our technology partners and jump on calls like this and do online demos. Very, very, very easy. It's easy because it's cloud-based.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads me into something I wanted to mention before we part ways here. And that is, this is kind of the first webinar in a series that we're going to do, loose series, surrounding managed security services. So we are going to be sending out hopefully an invite sometime this week for a webinar in February that'll dive deeper into the whole notion of cloud access control. And that will be with one of our access control partners, Brevo. So be on the lookout for that invitation. And then we're going to focus another webinar with a video partner, Eagle Eye Networks. We've mentioned that name here and there during today's talk. So we will definitely do kind of an overview with our vendors. But again, like Tim said, if you want to do a deep dive, get into your specific situation, please let me know, let your account rep know. We are more than happy, and so are our product partners, to hop on a call, visit your site. We'll do kind of anything to get you a working, functioning system that meets your needs. Are there any other final questions before we kind of say goodbye here? And I'll kind of end it a little early, give you 10 minutes back. I know that can be valuable to some people. All right. Well, with that, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, if you think of something later today, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to your IPS account rep. I'll be following up with all of our attendees via email with some additional resources, so you have some information to look back on. And once our recording is ready and published, I will provide you the link to that as well. So if there are no further questions, that is it for us today. And again, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.